Hi, guys, and welcome to the Women's Health Summit, where you're gaining clarity so you can lead with confidence and finally turn your passion into profit. I'm Laura Sherrill, a high-performance women's health coach and the founder of Balanced Bombshells, and today I'm here with Autumn Bensette, and she is a mom of one, a spiritual business coach, podcast host, and the founder of the Wealthy Babe Method. I'm so excited to introduce you guys to her today because she takes the most beautiful spiritual approach as well as her badass business self and brings it all together. So thank you so much for joining us, Autumn.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm truly so honored and so excited to be here.
So first, we would love to know how you got started in your business and why.
Beautiful. So I'd love to share that. So I got started in the current business that I am in, like right now, as a spiritual business coach, because I actually, for about 4 years prior, I was in health and wellness, and I was a fitness coach, and I taught group fitness classes, and I had a business with my partner. He actually was a personal trainer. And so we like put ourselves together and we melded both those passions. And I was taking over like the social media part and really filling our classes and building community. And we were growing that part of our life. But I actually came from, I'm like, where do we go back? Where does it start? Like, because
Wherever it feels good.
there are so many pieces, right, of where we get to where we are. Like, there are so many pieces of my journey that have brought me to becoming a spiritual business coach. Like, I didn't just wake up one day and say, I'm going to be a spiritual business coach. It was all of the little pieces through my life that have brought me here. And I was always kind of a spiritual person growing up, but it wasn't really until, I allowed myself to go through the depths of figuring out what is my passions, what do I want, who am I, and finding where I fit into the mix of really bringing this purpose that I know and I feel in my soul and my heart and my gut that I'm meant to bring into the world, but I can't conceptualize at the time. It doesn't like make sense. So I went to university and I spent 4 years in business for a marketing degree that I dropped out on, and I decided I'm just not going to do this because I am like you said, that badass. I'm kind of that rebel energy of, I know that I can just go and figure this out on my own versus being behind, lectures. And not that that's a wrong way. It just wasn't my way. And I dropped out of university. I went full time into my health and wellness network marketing business at the time. And then I got certified in different programs, and we built our business up, and everything was going really, really well. And we were actually just talking about it today and this week, how things were almost too good. And the people that we were leasing our company, we were leasing space for where we were teaching our fitness classes, and things went downhill. We were excelling very well. Our classes were always full. We were doing good. And that was a little threatening to the people that we were renting from. And so after we left, we went on a vacation. We came back 5 days after we had paid rent. Basically, they sent us an email saying that we were not allowed to train there anymore. They took our rent, they took our money, and we couldn't service our clients anymore. We didn't have anywhere to train them. We didn't have anywhere, like we didn't have any equipment, like we had nothing. And it was a really distraughtful like experience. I felt so frustrated. I put so much effort and energy and love into my clients and into our work, into our business, into our vision and what we were creating, and it was going so well. And so it was like, what is going on here? And I just had to take it from a huge sign from the universe that this was not the path like anymore, that this was not the way. And from there, I actually took a business course. I was just talking to you about personal development books, right?
Yes.
One fell out the shelf at me. And it was She Means Business by Carrie Green. And
Yes.
all these things started going off in my mind of, oh my gosh, there's a whole different world that I didn't even realize that I was missing out on. And so I get goosebumps as I'm saying this because I truly, at that moment, like it fell out the shelf at me. I'm not even kidding. It was just like,
I've had, we'll get to it in a second, but I actually had the same experience when I started teaching women's health. So go ahead. It's like,
it's wild.
yeah, like, so anyone watching, if you've ever had books fly off the shelf with you, it's happening for a reason. I had first read that happening through Gabrielle Bernstein's book. And like, that's how she got into spiritual work, was basically this book fell off the shelf and she was like, oh, cool, I guess I can read it. And now that's what she teaches. So like, Okay, keep going.
And then here I am teaching business.
Yeah.
Like, it's so strange, right?
Yeah.
So I got into this membership site, and I started to delve into some of these different types of trainings from different entrepreneurs outside of the network marketing realm that I had been in. I did not understand that there were business coaches, like health coaches, fitness. Like, I didn't know any of this stuff existed outside of that world. And then I went into the path of, I got into a group coaching program. I started to shift over my business, and I started to realize and pull out the pieces of myself that it wasn't just the fitness. It wasn't that part that I was really like linked to. What I was linked to was the conversations that I had after. It was the deep transformation. It was helping people feel really good. And so now it was about finding the way that that worked for me. So fast forward over time, multiple different coaches, different group coaching programs, just being on my own path in my own journey, a lot of healing, a lot of lessons, a lot of like trauma that has come up, the shadows, the duality, like so much of it. I am here, and now I teach on what I teach. And now I really, because I don't think you mentioned it, but basically like what it is that I do is I'm a spiritual business coach. And the reason I kind of left spiritual off there for a while, but I think that that's such an important part of what it is that I do, in the methodology in which that I have and that I bring to my service and my work. Because something that you asked was like, why do I do this work? Like, why do I do what I do? And it's because there were other women, and there are other women everywhere that are lost. You know, they're lost in their passion, they're lost in their purpose. They feel those nudges and those tingles in their soul, but they don't know how to get there. And then furthermore, they get very confused and thinking that they have to do things that they don't want to do, that, you know, they have to take the path that is full of resistance because hard work, and, you know, that's the way to get your desires. And as a mom now, I've, over the course of the time, I now have an 18-month-old. So there's so many pieces of this journey and this story, but I scaled my business to 6 figures in the same year that I had given birth. And that alone was a whole different chapter and level of my journey, which also affects what I teach now, because I went through the depths of postpartum anxiety and depression, and figuring out my new identity as a woman and as a mother, and how that works with business. I didn't take any time off from my business after I gave birth. I was like a week at home, and I went right back into
Like,
it.
but at least you're on your laptop instead of like, I guess, physically having to go into an office. But it's still a traumatic, I mean, your body goes through quite a lot. So
your body goes through a lot, and your mindset, and like your identity. And I didn't give myself any time to heal. I didn't give myself any time to process. I didn't give myself any time to just be with myself and what I wanted and who I was. And instead, I was pushing for a lot of these goals. I was pushing for a lot of these things outside of me, externally, around numbers and you know, income goals and things in your business that really I thought would fulfill me, because I was working with this like high level coach, and these were the goals we're setting, but it wasn't in resonance anymore with where I was and what I needed. So what I do now is such a beautiful infusion of really helping women come home to themselves, so then they can have a business and a life that feels authentic to them, and they can have that freedom inside that pulls out into their external world, because it's not coming from like, what's their way and how do I need to do it this way? And like, they're really able to identify what my vision is, what my way is, what my path is, what fully expressed to me looks like. So then they can create the offerings and the services and the branding and their messaging and like all of the other things that come together so beautifully when you're really able to tap into your own innate and potent power that you have as a woman and as a human being in your own divine way. And when we're so focused on like, this person's doing it this way, and you can't find it.
That's what I wanted you on here, because like, oh, I've studied and seen so many business coaches and their messaging and their approach that basically tells other women their way is the only way. And like, it really, I think, does a disservice, because like, it's not the only way. Most women are ending up taking their courses and it might work for a little bit, but then they're faltering because it doesn't feel good. So they're not keeping up with the system that was created. So I loved your message of being able to help women find what works for them and truly feels in alignment with who they are and what they want to bring to the world, because that's when it works. Like, so I teach women's health. So I teach women how to use their hormones for high performance. So basically, like, the women who already eat well and exercise, how can we take everything to like a whole new level? So you're on like a higher operating like field basically.
Yes.
And women always get stuck on what diet they should be on. And I'm like, in terms of balancing your hormones and feeling like happy and content, there's no one diet that's going to do that. So like just because your friend's a vegetarian or a vegan or paleo or whatever, doesn't mean you have to start attaching yourself to all of these. What feels good here, because like I have a shit ton of food sensitivities. So like I can't be vegetarian, I can't be vegan because I can't do like gluten or soy or dairy. So like none of those are going to make me feel good. Does that make me less than or wrong? No. Like, so it's the same as business. Like it's all what feels good for you. And that's what's basically going to shine through, which I just think is such a beautiful message. And I'm so glad you're bringing that to the world and to the table, because I think it's a huge problem with like a lot of the business coaches today. It's like their way or no way. They make you feel like something's wrong with you if you like can't figure it out or can't do it right. It's because you haven't found your way. So
Absolutely. And
yeah.
like, thank you so much for sharing your perspective on that and how that is such a beautiful parallel to something that anybody can really identify with, and how that plays into your business, because that pressure and that shame and that guilt that we put on ourselves of it, because it's a connection, right? We start to bridge things and we say, well, if I can't do it this way, then I can't have this.
Right.
And it's such a limiting belief and a limiting story that you put yourself in, that is automatically telling yourself that if you can't be that way, or that doesn't feel in alignment for you, then you can't have what you want. And it's such a bullshit story.
Yeah.
And it's not fair to you. It's not fair to your service. It's not fair for what you're here to do, because your path isn't supposed to be their way.
Right.
So it is really, and I know that was something that maybe you wanted to talk about a little bit later, but it's very limiting when we're feeling like we have to follow that one person's method, and that's one person's way. So when I say like the Wealthy Babe method, it's like really like your way, like your
right,
method,
exactly,
you know? It's that's where I created that whole entire process from, and why I coach what I coach, because I was feeling so limited in my own business as a mom who is crying like crazy, and I'm processing feelings, like just super honestly, like processing, like, is my baby gonna die? I can't sleep. I can't even feed myself. I can't nourish myself, and I'm falling apart. I don't know who I am. And so to be saying that I have to be high vibe, celebrating and doing all these things to have money and to feel successful, and this like it didn't resonate with me anymore. And I started to feel so capped and so limited. And I felt like if I'm feeling this way, then there's other women who are feeling this way. And I need to be a part of the solution, not adding to the problem.
And I think that's amazing, because like any female entrepreneur who like starts a business, like we were talking about this a little bit, of how like it truly is like your biggest self-development project. Like you get started working and you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't know I had all these mindset blocks. I didn't know I wasn't open to receiving. I didn't know I was basically deflecting love, or just like all of these things that kind of get stuck because you're either focused on, this person told me how to do it this way. I'm afraid to open my mouth and share my true message or feelings in fear of judgment and criticism from others. Like there's just, like when I first started teaching women's health, I was so angry with what was on the market. They basically, like the message from like the experts and down was hormones are something to fear. They led with the negative and basically made women feel like it was their fault. And why do you not know this stuff? And it's like, we're not taught this stuff whatsoever. So I remember just being like, if I'm going to do this, I'm not going to enter that world where I become another voice, where my tone is basically telling some other woman that she should know this. And almost like getting into, I know marketing does this, especially I know that you studied some marketing and advertising gets into those subconscious beliefs of people, and they hit on our fears in trying to motivate us to buy. But I think what's happening right now is the world is changing, where especially women, that doesn't feel good. And I don't want to align myself with that person, that coach, that brand, that product. Like women are really setting the tone in our world of what we're going to accept and not. And I remember, so I studied marketing in college, and one of the biggest takeaways I had from one of my marketing classes was women had the buying power. They're the ones buying the cars. They're the ones influencing the decisions on homes. They're the ones buying clothes. They're the ones buying makeup and beauty products and food. We have the buying power. So like, why wouldn't we even recognize that power which means we get to dictate what we want. So it's the same in running your business. Like, you get to choose. So oh yeah, I love your philosophy.
I hope you don't mind me like sharing just a little bit more on that quickly. Is what I feel is happening is collectively women are starting just to trust themselves more.
Yeah.
And it's not to say that this isn't like on an individual basis, we're all on our own journey in our process of what trusting ourselves really, really looks like. But as a whole, the power dynamic has shifted, and we're like that warrior woman that like, I am powerful and I am a goddess, and like all these archetypes, like we're allowing ourselves to embrace them. We're not allowing ourselves to be manipulated and controlled anymore through the masculine hierarchy
Yeah.
of saying like that you are not good enough and this is what your role is and this is the way that you need it to be, and manipulating what that reality actually is and who we are. And we've been taking that power back, and so we're starting to trust ourselves more, and we're starting to speak up about that and really able to identify what feels good for us, and able to, and because you know, on this, like what we were talking about beforehand, is there are so many of us that have been so spiritually awakened over the past like decade, and all of us are in different periods of like time in our journey in that process. But the ones that are creating that foundation, sharing the messages, sharing their lessons, saying this is what feels good, this is what doesn't feel good, and like you can, how you can identify it, and here's what my process was, and here's what worked for me, and here was my journey through story and through support and through tips. Like that alone is collectively creating space for everybody else to start to identify with themselves. Oh, wait, that thing that I felt in me did not feel right. Now I actually know why. And so, even in ways that we don't realize, we are making an impact on the greater collective by us just tuning into ourselves and trusting ourselves and sharing about it. We need that safety. Like, we need, for so long we were operating, I think, in this energy of fear, and like fear can be the only what's the motivator.
Yeah.
Fear can be the only motivator. Like you have to be making you have to have no money and then invest large amounts of money when you have none, so then you can be motivated to have
Right.
success. You have to be scared of your body, scared of your weight, so then you can have the weight in the image, like all of these things. So for so long we're creating these results and this life on a foundation of fear.
Yeah.
And then we wonder why it keeps crumbling, because that's not our innate like way that we're supposed to be. The spirit universe wants us to be supported in a truly authentic and divine and beautiful way.
Right.
And so we need to create environments and spaces and be with mentors and friends and containers that help us feel safe. It's like a child. Like Louis, when we were in our apartment, my daughter, when we were in our apartment, she, like, there was just so many things around her. There was all these edges. She couldn't really move. We had blockages everywhere, and she could not feel safe to explore. So I could feel like her growth was halting. There were things that I couldn't let her do. She couldn't feel like she can learn and really embrace like her own power. We moved into a home. There's tons of space for her to roam. We created rooms and space for her to explore and to feel safe. And she can do that because she knows she can trust herself in it. It's important for us to be creating safe spaces for us from a place of love, that we can grow from that. We don't need to be doing it from fear. We don't need to be doing it from, I'm not good enough, or I'm not going to be enough if this isn't what I do. Like, you actually get to choose to have evolution and growth and transformation from a place that actually feels really aligned and good for you, not because somebody else holds the power, not because they have the answers, not because if you're in their energy, they will sprinkle some fairy dust that will make you more magical. Like, you are your magic.
Yeah.
So it's important that we have that safe space for us to explore ultimately, so we can find what our way is.
Right. And I love your point too of like women are starting to trust themselves more, because like think of how many girlfriends you might have had where they come to you with a problem that you know they can solve on their own, but they're so confused, they're so fearful of what they know is the answer. But you like call your mom, you call your sister, you call your friends, and you basically are talking to every single person trying to make the decision, what's right for me. And it's like, you already know in here what's right for you. Like
100%.
So it's just the same thing comes up in business, and there's so many things along the way. And if you're ever going to, if you're going to be an entrepreneur and like really make it, you have to trust your own judgment. You have to trust when things feel weird and feel off. So like I love discovery calls now because you like as much as they're interviewing you, you're interviewing them. So you want to make sure, like, I was set the intention very early on in my business of like, I'm only going to allow in the type of energy that feels really good to me, because they're allowing my energy into their life and I'm allowing them into mine. If their energy isn't in alignment and I'm doing it just for the money, I'm going to be dreading those calls. I'm going to not show up fully to that person and like then feel guilty because they're paying me, but I can't fully show up for them. So it's like, we do have to be mindful of what we choose to welcome into our life, whether that's, you know, clients or running programs or however you want to, you know, set up your business. But I just love your point of how women are becoming more into that awakening and like more empowered, knowing like what's true.
Yes.
So I know you do a lot of work on helping women get to the point where they're open to receiving love, which if anyone's sitting here thinking this is like really woo woo, I totally understand. When we talk about receiving love in terms of our like subconscious beliefs and our mindset, when you're an entrepreneur and like you're putting out the energy of your business, people subconsciously feel your energy. So not being open to receiving without necessarily realizing it, not having your basically stuff in alignment with who you are and what you're doing actually hurts your sales. It turns people off, even though they like you and like can't really put their finger on why they're not hiring you. I think it really comes down to our energy. Especially, I know a lot of women have a lot of blocks over receiving love. We feel shame, undeserving, unworthy. So do you want to talk a little bit about women going through that process, like kind of how you walk them through it and then how they kind of come out on the other side?
Yeah, no, this is a loaded question, but I'll definitely do my
Yeah,
best
just yeah.
to go into this, because this is 100% it, is that if we go back as far as like we can, um, we have to look at the foundation of us as women and where your beliefs around receiving come from. On a surface level, of course you want money. Of course you want success. Of course you want clients. Of course you want the big, beautiful home. But if you've never allowed yourself to be in a space or in a situation where you can see yourself having it and enjoying it, on a subconscious level, it feels like a threat. It feels like death. It feels like, so your body goes into fight or flight mode because it doesn't know how to receive that. So if you, we have, I say that there's karmic and there's societal and then there's like ancestral. And so we have these different levels of where our fears come from, and some of that's ancestral, right? Like it gets passed down from all of our ancestors before us, how our mom was raised, how her mom raised her, and how she was raised. It gets passed down to us, how we grow up, what we see as possible for ourselves, how we get to receive love, how we operate in our relationships, how we spend money, how we, like, if we're asking our partner, can I spend this money, can I, how we do those things is because we learn from them before we ever actually learn it. Like, you're never going to learn this in school. You're not going to learn this from, anybody throughout your life. You just witness it. You see it from how your mom and your dad, or the people that you are your primary caregivers, you see how they interact with these things. So then it becomes how you do it. And then part of it is societal, all of the messaging and all the things that we have imprinted into our minds of the way that we can receive love, what we're available to, how we, like, all of that. Like, there's so many pieces of it, but we'll learn it from society and movies, billboards, like whatever you were really shown as you were growing up. But then there's karmic, and karmic is that we all have our own agreements, our souls. And this is pretty woo.
Yeah. I mean,
This
I'm
is
into
pretty
it. I hope everyone else is, but
it's pretty woo, but
yeah.
our souls, like, you're in a human body, but your
Yeah.
soul has been here lifetimes before, and it will be here for lifetimes to come. Your soul is not new. None of the souls that are here on our planet Earth right now are new souls. And so we carry that through into a human body, into a human existence that is meant for us to clear those karmic agreements. So they come up for healing through different situations in our parents, in our children, in our paths, so then we can bring these to the surface and say, okay, what doesn't feel right here? I need to heal this. I need to look at that. I need support here. And some of us choose to look at that and to heal it and to work through it. And then our souls almost like graduate from this lifetime, and they'll move on to something else. else that allows that new healing to happen. And some of us don't. And so those souls will keep going through into different human experiences until we're allowing ourselves to do the healing. So on many different levels, we carry this pressure, and we carry guilt and we carry shame around allowing ourselves to feel like we can receive love, we can receive success, we can receive happiness, we can receive fulfillment, and that it's safe for us and it's going to be okay and we're going to be loved and taken care of anyways. So when we go to launch programs and we go to launch our offerings and we go to talk about them, we start to make it very personal. We start to meld what people are saying about us, or how people are buying our offerings, or how they're showing up for things, how they say yes, how they say no, how they come to a program. Like, we do all this and we make it mean something about ourselves as women, as humans, as people. And so it gets into our minds and into our way of actually serving and speaking about what we're here to do. Because really, like, our work, yes, it's an extension of our soul. Like, our calling is something that is being given to us to bring into like this realm, into the world for the collective. But at the same time, like, your business is not you. And so it's really important to be able to look at these things separately, so then you can allow yourself to heal and to see in what areas of your life you're not allowing yourself to receive love. So something that you can do on like a tangible way is, how well do you receive compliments?
Such a good one.
Like,
most women are like,
right?
Oh, no, they like go towards the negative versus saying thank you.
Yeah, it's not even, it's, oh, thank you, I got this shawl at this place. Oh, thank you, you can get it there. Like, we deflect it. We don't allow ourselves just to receive it. And another thing is, if you do mirror, like if you talk into the mirror, you do mirror talk and you just speak just beautiful words to yourself. Do you like look away? Are you able to receive it? Can you actually feel that in your body, or does it make you feel really uncomfortable to speak to yourself, to have a conversation with yourself, to be with yourself? They're such small things that we don't think are going to link us to have more clients and more success in our business.
Right.
But you have to buy into you and your brilliance and your magic before anybody else can. And if we're not doing that, then again, we're building on a foundation of fear. And what we're doing is we're seeking other people to purchase from us, to sign up with us, to tell us that we're good enough, so then we can feel validated in ourselves.
Right.
But then what happens when they leave? What happens when they're done?
You're
The
left
magic
feeling
goes
empty.
with them. We feel empty. We have to fill ourselves up. So it's important. Like, those are just a couple small things. I have multiple different techniques through EFT and NLP and like all these other beautiful processes to help women really figure out and allow themselves on a deep level to receive. But it's starting small. It's really just starting with checking in with yourself of like, can I be with myself for like a period of time and be with my own thoughts and my emotions and my feelings? Can I just receive a compliment from somebody else? Can I receive somebody wanting to pay for my lunch? Can I receive somebody wanting to pay for like a dinner or a new thing that I need? And that's a really good indication of how you can receive, because I, like, one of my clients at one point, I remember she came and she visited me, and she was driving through and she visited, and we sat down and we had dinner, and I went to go, I like snuck away and I went to go pay for our meal, and I came back and I said that I had paid for it, or the waitress or whoever had said that I paid for it, and she was like, no, and I just looked at her and I was like,
have I taught you nothing?
Like, so yeah, like, it was like, so what, like, and she just right away was like, oh, damn it. And it was it's really important for us to realize, if we cannot accept that love just from our mom or a friend or a spouse to be able to take care of us, to support us, to say, I love you and I want to exchange this energy with you and help you feel loved and received and taken care of and be in that abundance, how are we allowed, like, we're not going to receive it from our clients, because it's going to make us feel, whether it's pressure, like I have to perform for them or I have to be good enough for them, and we want to receive money that feels good. And I really do believe that everything happening right now came from, again, we're like removing all the things that don't work anymore and putting us into a space and a foundation and a ground zero almost, where we can all collectively and individually build our lives and our paths and our decisions from a pure place of love. And yeah.
Yeah, of course. I think it sounds so beautiful, because as we're talking, I finally figured out what irritates me so much with other business coaches.
Oh my
And
goodness.
it's the fact that they're basically trying to teach women how to operate a business from the masculine energy, which society deems as successful and important. Because, like, those coaches are the ones who would be like, no, you're going to have enough money to pay for everybody's dinner. Won't that feel good? And it's like, yes, of course, in situations, of course, it's going to feel good. But you're over here on the other side, and what I think is just such an important message to get out there of, no, how can we use our feminine nature to be able to give and receive? Like, that's what love is. You give and you receive. And a lot of women, I've absolutely been there. This comes up in like subconscious areas of my life where I don't even realize it, of like, oh, I'm blocking receiving here. And like, that's not okay. How can I open myself up to feel, to just accept someone else's love or compliment, or someone else to buy something for me? So I love those
Yeah.
tangible tips of even just testing yourself of like, oh, my friend just complimented me and I immediately deflected it. Okay, I have some work to
Yes.
do here. Why is that happening?
Yeah.
Um, and to go to one of your other points about um, not necessarily learning the lesson, and situate, like, you keep having different experiences that are basically the same thing. They're just showing up differently because you haven't
Hmm.
learned the lesson.
Hmm.
That happened to me before I like started Balance Bombshells, because I
Yes.
used to work in fundraising and I used to go on these walks, like soul searching walks. And I'm like, why does every job I apply for, I like never hear back? I tried applying for jobs for like 4 years when I was in my old job. And I'm like, why is this not happening? Why do I keep being stuck in these same situations? And finally it hit me on one of those walks where I'm like, I haven't learned whatever lessons I'm supposed to be learning. Like, I
Yes.
have, something isn't clicking. So I just remember like just kind of doing one of those surrendering prayers of just like, just show me what I need to learn so I can move past
Mhm.
this. And it was a year from that point that I was able to leave my job and do Balance Bombshells full time. So I was just like, oh, that's like the universe telling me, congratulations, you've graduated, you move forward. And it was because I operated my life on a state of burnout from that masculine energy, from that out, like looking for outer success, doing all the things. And I'm like, man, I'm not going to be able to run a business in that type of energy space. And if I don't learn how to do that, I'm never going to be able to do it, basically. So I just resonate so much with what you're saying, because I was like, oh, I've had those. Or the women are like, man, I keep attracting douchebags. You know, it's like you haven't learned the lesson of how to, like, of maybe the person that you truly want. But like, if you keep attracting douchebags, you got some work to do on relationship stuff. So it shows up
Yeah.
in all of our areas of our life.
It totally does. And I think what it really keeps coming back to is it's within ourselves. Like, if you're not able to receive love and like that somebody, your friend paying for dinner, it's because you can't receive a compliment from yourself.
Mm-hmm.
It's because you can't receive love from yourself. It's because there's something inside of you that you need to give and fill yourself up with. And that's usually like the biggest key is that we want to, like, it's uncomfortable for us because we're not taught that. We don't know how to do that, whether it was within our family or our friends or how we grew up. We weren't always taught how just to nurture ourselves and to tell ourselves like, hey, I'm beautiful and I'm worthy and I'm good enough and I can have what I desire. We were usually taught, well, why is your hair like that, or dress like this, or did you gain some weight, or
Yeah.
and so like all these things start to be picked at with us, and we stop learning a basic, like such a basic, like need and skill of just how to love ourselves. And it sounds so like simple, but it really does,
It's
like,
hard.
more that you, it's
Yeah.
so it's simple and hard all at the same
Yeah.
time. So it's when you're able to give yourself that recognition and to see yourself for all that you are, not just the light parts, not just all the bubbly, beautiful, bright parts, but also able to hold yourself through the things that you might deem as imperfections, the things that you feel like are your shadows, the things that are coming up just for healing and recognition and love, because those parts of you are also valid. Those parts of you also deserve love, and they deserve to be held and seen just as much as you see the things in the light. And when you stop being scared of them and you stop trying to push them down out of like, I'm not enough and I'm shamed by them, you actually do create this like sense of inner freedom that you don't find, like, you can't find in another person, you can't find it in a partnership, you can't find it in your mom, you can't find it in a job, you can't find it no matter where you are. It's just something that carries with you, through
Yeah.
every
Same
part
here.
of your life. Yeah.
Yeah. So I talk to women a lot about their hormones and their cycles. And this one I think trips up women, and I'm curious on your thoughts on it. So the week before our period, our serotonin levels dip, which is like one of our feel-good hormones. So our brain doesn't necessarily get all that serotonin, which basically makes us feel good and confident about ourselves. So what happens is the hormone will naturally dip, which then causes us to criticize ourselves, criticize others, just all the nitpicky like brain thoughts. It makes you doubt yourself. It lowers your self-esteem. So knowing that that naturally happens, which most women, we don't know this because we're not taught this whatsoever. And it's actually a PMS symptom that like doctors don't think to ask about, because women feeling dissatisfied with themselves or how they look has become so common that they don't even relate that to our brain chemistry and our hormone levels. So I always tell my clients, like, be aware of that, because once we have that self-awareness and we understand what's happening, we can look at it more objectively. So basically what happens in that time period is like you'll look at yourself in the mirror and you'll see yourself differently, which is called body dysmorphia. So like your hair will be different. This used to happen to me all the time, and I think this is why many women end up suffering from eating disorders, because it triggers your behavior. You're just like, oh my gosh, I all of a sudden gained 10 pounds, even though your pants fit the same. Even like clearly you didn't, but it feels like it and it looks like it. And when you're looking in the mirror, you're like, this must be true. So I always ask my clients to be like, where are you at in your cycle? Is this your truth? Or is it just my body chemistry is shifting right now? What else can I do to support myself, to remember who I am, to come back to this space? Because for me, I mean, it used to trigger a lot of habits the following month that would make me feel more stressed out, feel more less than,
Absolutely.
talk to myself negatively, and just go on that vicious cycle, which most women, understand. So I'm just curious, like, I don't know if you've ever tuned into that within your own body.
So it's actually interesting. My daughter is 18 months. I have not actually had my period back since. So
Okay.
I still haven't had it. And this is all new information, that I had been learning once, like I was introduced to all of this, like your moon
Yeah.
magic and how you really work and sync your cycles when I was pregnant. And
Yeah.
so I learned about like yoni eggs and yoni wand and like all this stuff when I was pregnant. So it's actually really interesting because even on the realm of like embracing my sexuality and my intimacy within myself and that love, it was a different kind of journey because I could not embrace all of these different techniques and tools the same way that I wanted to. Like I really wanted to utilize these things, but I mean, I was pregnant. So
Right.
certain things weren't safe, certain things I just could not try out. And then I haven't had the ability to actually know within like my body where I'm at. But what I do want to speak to, because I do help, I mean, women that are in different spaces who do deal with this, it's remembering and coming back again to, and this would be the exact same way with me if I was going through my cycles, because I'm sure that on some level you can probably speak to it, but on some level I probably am still going through a cycle and a process. It's just looking maybe different
Yeah.
right
Very
now.
different.
Yeah.
Are
So
you still breastfeeding?
yeah, I mean,
Okay.
she for the majority, eats like food and everything,
Right.
like solids and stuff, but I do
Because
still breastfeed.
that can
Yeah.
basically block it too, because your body's basically still producing a lot of like hormones that she needs.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's what I was thinking
Yeah.
though. And I haven't I mean, with everything going on, like I haven't gone and actually seeked out, I was like, well, I trust my body. It's
Yeah.
probably fine, but it's definitely something I've thought about. So anyways, what I know about all of this is coming back down to, you're not meant to work in the same capacity as men are.
Yes.
And
Preach.
right? You're not meant to. You
Yeah.
are. Okay. I do want to speak about like the masculine energy and how you
Yeah.
can utilize this for your advantage, because I don't want anybody to be scared about it. But when it comes to, again, the societal and the ancestral and all of the things, it's that you on a subconscious level, you're not even consciously aware of it, you're doing this on autopilot. You think and believe that you need to show up and you need to keep doing the things the same way all of the time because somebody else has told you that, because
Yeah.
a man has done it, you grew up that way, school was structured that way, nobody would give you that break, nobody would give you compassion, nobody would allow and validate that your body is in a different time than other people. And you need to take time to honor that, to give space to that, to check in with what you need, and then alter the other things around it. And that's kind of the issue again, is we keep seeking that there is only one way, and we have to keep following that way so then we can have what we want. And destination addiction is going to kill people. Like there's nowhere that you're going to get that all of your dreams and the things that you want are going to come true. It comes from every little piece of the journey, of every small little destination and stop that you take, where you are able to find what works for you and what makes you happy and who you are. So it's being able to really, if I was going through this, I would be giving myself that space, one, to become very aware, like becoming very, very aware of like my time and my cycle, and recognizing when that shows up for me and the thoughts and the patterns and the fears that I have around that. But then also giving myself grace and compassion to let myself know that I'm not a robot, and I get to have a human experience, and I get to honor my body, and I get to trust that it knows what it needs. Even if I'm in resistance to it, it's telling me. So if that means slowing down, if it means shifting how I serve my clients, if it means not taking client calls that week, if it means, not going crazy into a launch, if it means, we get to change things around. Like we are the leaders of our life. And so it's remembering like we're in control, and we get to honor ourselves. We have to be aware though, like first and foremost, like I love what you said, because that is the foundation of everything. When you're aware, then at least you can take that next step. But for me, it's give yourself so much grace.
Yeah, because I feel like most women are looking for that permission slip when it's like, no, it actually comes internally. And like the way our bodies are designed versus the man, we do need things differently. Like, especially when you're pregnant and then postpartum, like, that your body needs more gentleness and grace. And there's specific parts of our cycle that we actually can predict and plan around it, which is usually like before and during our period is when we need to kind of scale back a little bit. But most women push through that because the ideal is taught to us that although we have these varying cycles and this ebb and flow of energy and hormones and, the moon energy and all this stuff basically coming at our bodies, we're not taught to like celebrate that and how to lean into that and make it actually work for us. We're taught, this is how you're going to be successful. This is what you need to be able to do. Oh, you feel tired? Just keep going. Or like I'm not a big believer in like pushing medication. So most doctors now are like, oh, that's how you're feeling. Here's some medication. Here's the pill. Just basically putting a Band-Aid on it. So women never actually learn how to tune into their own body's rhythms. So then we distrust it, but then it comes out in anger, fear, shame, resentment. Like
absolutely,
you word vomit all over the place, basically.
Absolutely. No, 100%. Like I feel like we could go on about this first, like I could go on like so many different tangents about this, because there really is so many depths of what is going on and where we seek support, and how we're going to the people that we're told to trust with this delicate information and this delicate process within ourselves and our body. And when we go and we get medication, or for things that I do believe that there is maybe a time and a place for Western medicine.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But there are a lot of things that are just Band-Aids, because whether the doctors are not equipped with it, whether they're overworked and they don't have the resources, whether they're scared of, being able to take people to that level, like whatever it is, their path, their way, like they're not able to support us with what we actually need. And it's not, thank goodness for women like you who are waking up everybody else and are able to support them and speak your truth. So then you really can help guide women to a better way that's more natural for them to receive the support and understanding within their bodies that they need, because we're not given this information. I remember I was 17 or 18 at the time, and I went through a huge breakup with my boyfriend, and I was just feeling so off in my body. It was the first time that I really experienced like true anxiety. Like I always had it through my life growing up, but it was then that it was almost unbearable. Like I didn't even know what to do with it. And all it was going on now that I know about it was I wasn't trusting myself. I had fear of the unknown. I didn't know how to manage that. Was I not enough? What was wrong with me? And so when I went to my doctor, he goes, okay, you have generalized anxiety and depression disorder. Here's some medication.
Yeah.
And a month later, I was numb and I had no emotion at all. I couldn't feel a damn thing.
Yep.
I felt completely disconnected with my body. I broke even more trust within myself, and everything else just kind of spiraled out of control from there too, because it was making more problems in my emotions and how I process, like everything.
Yeah.
It's, yeah, you
Yeah.
do amazing
Well,
work.
I think, well, and the women watching this too are starting or building on their path of health and wellness for women. So I think it's like women are suffering so much in the healthcare industry because like I used to go into my doctor and like tell them how I was feeling, and I was just, my emotions were always disregarded, and they're like, you're young, you're healthy, you're fine, go home. But our emotions pinpoint so much
Yes.
of what's going on. So to either like dive into that from a spiritual level or mindset, or recognizing, hey, some of the foods I'm eating aren't sitting well with my gut health, basically, which can create, so 80% of our serotonin is made in the lining of our stomach. So if we're eating foods that are inflammatory, if we're eating too much sugar, if we're doing too much like acidic foods, it actually disrupts that balance. So then people are feeling more depressed, lower energy, more anxious, stressed out. But then if they're going to the doctor and getting those medications actually cause, I don't know if you've ever heard of leaky gut syndrome.
I have heard, yeah.
Where it basically creates cracks in the gut lining for food particles to go in the bloodstream, which of course is not supposed to happen,
Yes.
which of course creates like so many more other problems. But it's like this loop versus just being like, let's talk about food, let's talk about stress management, let's talk about anxiety, let's talk about our emotions and how they change based on our cycle. Like, let's talk about it. So I'm just so glad that there are women out there like you who take a very grounding, feminine energy, spiritual approach on helping women really be able to navigate the business landscape, because like, guys, it's not easy. Like, you need people in your back corner who are going to help you make the decisions that are right for you, that feel really good, versus partnering with people where you're like, yeah, okay, I like their ideas, but you know in your heart that it doesn't necessarily feel good. I actually, like, I hired a marketing coach when I first got started, and I just remember knowing I trust my gut and my intuition. And I'm like, I know that she's going to help me get to where I need to go, but I know I'm never going to hire her again. Like, I just knew there was something about her energy where I was like, it's not going to happen. So we worked together for a bit, got where I needed to go. Cause I just knew she had the information I needed, but like, as a person, I knew this was not someone that we were going to like be besties, basically. So I remember she asked me to do a video testimonial for her. And I was like, no. I was like, I'm happy to put something in writing. But I also, like, I just didn't trust her, basically. I was like, I don't know how she's going to use this video. I don't know where this is going to end up on the interwebs. Like, it just made me really uncomfortable. And I was like, I also would be getting on camera and lying. So I was like, I can't do it. And
absolutely.
I like told her, I was like, I'm more than happy to write a written testimonial of what you were able to help me do, but I will not do video. And she like never reached out to me again. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Like, just very interesting energy exchange. So like, it was really, really interesting. So, but I knew that from her energy, even when I hired her. So it's just like, women know the women that they're hiring. So always like tune in. Does this person feel good? You know, just definitely making sure you're aligning yourself with the right people, because it doesn't feel like that to me didn't feel good. So I always questioned, was that worth it? You know, like, I don't really know, because it's like it helped, but it also didn't emotionally. So
it's interesting that you actually bring that up. I spent probably at least like over $40,000 working one-on-one with a coach for about a year and a half, maybe even more than that. And I first signed up with her because on the outside, it seemed like she had made strong impact. She had high engagement. People loved her. They wanted to work with her profusely. She was beautiful with her words. Her branding was impeccable. And it worked on the surface. I grew a 6-figure business. I birthed a baby into the world. I had sold out programs. I was signing 5 clients in a week. Like, I was doing beautiful and incredible things, making more money in a month than I even knew what to do with. But it wasn't until I stopped working with her and all of the people went away and the magic went away and she went away, and I didn't know what the fuck I was teaching on anymore. I didn't know what I stood for. I didn't know who I was. And I realized that there were so many pieces that I didn't even know that I was missing. And I had to go through massive amounts of trauma, healing of trauma, of feeling like, because there can be a culty culture around coaching. There can be a culty culture of, you need to be paying me at this amount to sit at the table with me, to feel, to be good enough, to be worthy enough for my people to be supporting you. And then it follows along, and then everybody becomes a replica and a copycat of their branding and their messaging.
And they're repeating that message out into the world.
And I was one of them. Like I it shocked me. I stepped back and I was like, oh, what just happened here? Like, I honestly did not realize to the depth that I did not trust myself, because I was being led through just fundamental, I was being led through her trauma. I was being led through things that she had repressed, that she hadn't healed. And so even though on the surface people were loving her and they were supporting her and they were putting all of like her on this pedestal, like that's not what coaching is. That's not what true support is. True support is helping you be your magic, you be responsible for your success. It's helping everybody feel like they can sit at the table with you. It's not creating a hierarchy. It's not I'm the cool kid and I'm the and then you have to pay me $3,000 for an hour for you to be here. I'm totally for high value. I'm totally for charge like what feels in alignment for you. That's not even a money conversation about that, but it comes from that feeling of it's important for you to trust yourself, but it's really also important for you to ask yourself what you want from this person and why you're hiring them in the first place. And if you think like you can't get that from yourself, do you know what I mean?
Right. And do you think that that experience helped you with your model today?
Oh, 100%. That's the thing, is that even though there were pieces that I had to go through like 6-7 months of deep healing and reassessing, I am the coach that I am, and I teach the way that I teach. And I have so much love for her. I have respect for her, because I understand that I am also self-responsible for my choices and my actions and how I show up to things. But it's through actually processing that experience and going to the depths of things that I could have pushed down because it was uncomfortable for me to look at, of, oh, I have to take responsibility for this, or I need to show up for the choices that I made here. And I actually was able to grow from that and really figure out, what is the leader that I want to be? How do I want clients to feel in my energy? How do I want them to feel buying from me? How do I want them to feel purchasing and having payments come out of their account? How do I want them to feel coming out of our time together? How can I help them be more independent versus codependent on me? How can I help bring out their magic versus feeling like I'm their magic? That required for me to check my ego and stop making it all mean something about me, and really allowing my clients to be the people that shine in my light, or like shine in our work together. Because it's, does that make sense?
Yeah, because even while you were talking, I was like, I know you probably learned so much from that person, and like there was a reason why she was in your life for a year plus. But then it's also really nice how you're able to recognize the discomfort and like lean into it versus like play the blame game, which I know like we naturally want to do, but like there's just something there. So I think sometimes too, we're kind of led down these paths where we're kind of like staggering and just like unsure, but it's happening for a reason, because you're meant to learn and grow. Because I remember after I had hired that coach, I didn't like her onboarding process. Like she made me feel so icky and gross in the way that she handled it. And I just remember thinking, this is great tool, because I'm never going to do that. I'm never going to make somebody else feel the way that she just made me feel. And I know that this is like for a reason, because I'm tuning into that, because the same thing, I don't ever want my clients to feel bad about, or like feel off about putting down their credit card or making payments or working with me, where in the back of their mind, they're having that subconscious, oh, but there's something about her that's just not clicking with me. Like I want them to feel so good. And it's just nice that you were able to tap into that too, and really put that light on how you serve, because that also reflects back who you serve. Like it's going to attract those women that feel really good. So I loved having you talk about all this today, because I think the women who are watching are going to be able to really stay true to themselves, because that's when they align themselves with the women who are really going to create that beautiful exchange versus doing it out of fear and lack mentality, basically. So I know you have a freebie for us. I think you have a mini course that you're going to be sharing with everybody.
Yes, my I was like, oh, what was this again? Yes, because we talked a little bit ago. How to start and host your own online workshop. And this is actually a piece of it's a piece that I took from a training I did inside of the Wealthy Babe Method, and I decided to sell on its own because it is such a powerful tool that like anybody can take almost in any industry and do something with, so then they can start generating money and help serving people in a way that feels in alignment for them, like ASAP.
Yeah, I'm so excited because I'm going to be sharing that link in the show notes for everybody to sign up for that. And just thank you so much for being here, sharing all of your wisdom, your beautiful energy. Like I can just feel it.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for
Yeah,
having me. Truly, truly, this was such a beautiful conversation. I feel like we could have gone on for
I know.
days.
So long. But I'm just like so excited you're here and to introduce everyone to your work.
Thank you.